good evening out there in the United States. It is 7 p.m. on Friday evening, and I am so excited to be coming into your Facebook feed with a new live on digital lead acquisitions. It's a topic that I recently presented on with Donor Perfect, the software company. Many of you probably remember the free webinar that I was advertising probably last month. And so actually I did the webinar, and then after doing the webinar, I was asked to take that information and then present it at the international conference that's going to be held in Baltimore, Maryland. I believe it's starting on the 28th, I believe, which just happens to be my birthday. So I'm excited about the conference and perhaps speaking to everyone on my actual birthday, which is really kind of exciting. So I wanted to come in today to just share a little bit more about digital lead acquisition and what it is exactly. It's a concept that I have learned somewhat about here during my time in Australia, and have been doing some studying of what it exactly is and how it can be used for donor acquisition purposes. Now, we all know that we have a retention issue in this country, and actually in other countries as well. Our donor retention rate stands at basically 48% or so. And what I have found is that a lot of organizations do not have the broad basis of donors that will support them into the future, and that there is a heavy emphasis on major gift works, which is critically important. However, I do believe that there is a need for our organizations to still build strong bases of donor support, because that has always been the foundation of the donor pyramid. So what is lead acquisition? Lead acquisition as a strategy is basically using some method to capture what we would call prospects or leads. So for instance, if you go onto my website, you will actually see what is a pop-up, right? And when we say pop-up, we mean it's a device to actually capture people's interest and engagement. So for instance, something like a survey would be a lead acquisition tool. You would actually running a survey now as a lead acquisition tool for my own business. But basically you'd run some kind of engagement so that you would have essentially a tool to grab someone's attention, a survey, a quiz, a petition. And so basically whether it's a pop-up or other device like that, essentially what you're saying to the universe of people out there is, here, I have something to attract you. It's a survey, take the survey. And in essence, that's basically what we're asking people to essentially do. Once they take the survey, it's almost like you are then qualifying them. You're saying to them, basically, boy, this person has taken the survey. They have shown an interest in what it is that we are offering, and so they kind of self-qualify. So once they self-qualify, you can take that information that you've learned about them, whether they're interested in, let's say your organization is an animal organization. You can take someone who may have taken a survey on snakes or cats or dogs, and then put them into a stream where you actually cultivate them based upon their identity. And so that becomes what is then called the donor journey engagement or donor journey engagement stream. And basically, when they're in that donor journey engagement stream, you have mapped out a series of touch points that you are going to be doing with that particular donor based upon the identity that you gathered through the lead magnet. So, for instance, you may do something like, send out a publication specifically for all the dog lovers, or you may send out, a request for a dog adoption or something. The idea is that you are gradually building a relationship with the particular donor through a donor engagement stream. Now, I would love it if today's CRMs and donor software systems were really good at doing automations. Many of them are not really at that point right now that they will automations will be triggered once someone takes a petition or someone actually fills out a survey. So you, in essence, have to manually do many of those kinds of things. For instance, I do not believe that Bloomerang has automation. So when someone clicks on a survey, takes it, an automated donor engagement stream would then begin. At this point, I think you need to basically place folks into that automated journey that you're going to create yourself through creating basically segmented and dripped emails. So, there have been organizations here just in the Sydney area that I think I may have shown online that have gained anywhere up to 3,500 new donors through just one campaign through digital acquisition. I continue to beat a horse here and say to charities that I work with, how many, if you go to your Google Analytics and you look at the back end of your website, how many visits, particularly unique visits, are you getting per week, per day, per month, and how are you beginning to convert those visitors into potential new donors for your organization. So that's basically, how to use digital methods, which, to be honest, are quite much more cost effective than using the old buy a list method and do a mailing that we would traditionally do years back for donor acquisition purposes. Now, I wrote a whole white paper that I have yet to do anything with, except to spruce up my webinar for the international conference. But if you are interested in reading more about what digital lead acquisition is, how to actually create what I would call a lead magnet and what some of those may be, how to create kind of a prospect generation stream through doing things like Facebook advertising, Google Grant advertising, directing people to your lead so that you are funneling people. Essentially, what this is a basic sales funnel. And some people will argue with me and say that fundraising is not sales. And I say, if you take a look at the basic sales funnel and how the basic sales funnel operates, in fact, there are really some strong corollaries between the sales funnel and donor acquisition and donor relationship building. It goes from the universe out there to attracting attention, to increasing awareness and increasing engagement, to eventually an ask for a product sale, or an ask in this case for a donation. The costs of digital lead acquisition, are, you're going to need to take into any design cost of the lead itself, Facebook ads, those running, those kinds of things would go into that. But I would guarantee you that those costs are going to be on a much less significant scale than they would be if you were doing the traditional direct mail acquisition that we once did years ago. Even with direct mail acquisition, you still were only guaranteed a 1 to 3% return, if that. And the key about the old traditional direct mail acquisition propositions was that you still needed to do some kind of welcome series. And often those welcome series were done through the mail, through a series of newsletters and other engagement streams. So again, this is a much more cost-efficient process than other traditional means. Now, you cannot just acquire a lead through digital lead acquisition without doing the same thing that you would do with a direct mail acquired lead, and that's in fact put them into some kind of welcome or donor engagement journey. So mapping out that donor engagement piece is going to be absolutely critical as well. And seeing that relationship from the initial attraction, developing the relationship through the donor, once you attract their attention through the lead magnet, and then you place them into the funnel and you begin to provide them with touch points that digitally that you have actually mapped out. And they don't have to be all digital. I know that when groups have done donor journey mapping, I mean, yes, a great majority of those touch points have been digital, but also some have been telephone and some have been in person. You just need to map out and qualify the donors within your stream. Another interesting for-profit corollary that could carry over into the nonprofit world is what is called lead scoring. And so actually, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I have lead scoring for customers that are in my CRM for my business. So, for instance, and I'm going to take Angie because Angie's such a faithful Facebook group participator, but if Angie goes and she downloads a lead magnet, and then let's say I have a webinar promotion up right now, currently, for a webinar that's I'm going to be hosting on February 20th. Let's say Angie goes and she clicks on that link. Angie opens up my monthly newsletter. Well, her engagements, her lead score keeps increasing. So I can look right now at the back end of my CRM, and I can tell you who the top lead scorers are because of the actions and how many points I've assigned to those actions. Again, our DMS systems, donor management systems, are not to that place yet that I believe that they can do that kind of highly sophisticated automation and lead scoring. So a lot of that would have to be done manually. However, if you think about it, that's just like the old rating and ranking of prospects that we used to do when we would sit around a room of people and say, how interested and engaged is this person and what's their capacity? Well, by assigning someone based upon their actions, some form of a lead score, our top most interested prospects are going to rise to the top. And so then you can begin to develop a strategic ask for those particular prospects based upon their lead scores and their capacity. So digital lead acquisition is an important method today for donor acquisition. I believe that it is a very cost-efficient and cost-effective method of acquisition. I believe that donor journey mappings are things that we all need to be taking a look at and actually thinking about in our organizations. And if anyone wants that white paper, or I will actually, if you're going to the international conference, I will be sharing with you more about that particular webinar and when that webinar will actually, not the webinar, everything I do these days is a webinar, but when that particular presentation is going to be happening. I don't have a date yet, believe it or not. I'm just kind of going with the flow. So if you want a copy of that white paper on digital lead acquisition that I recently created, feel free to just hit me with a private message, and I will be sure to get that that digital lead acquisition piece out to you. The other piece of that is, and you can feel free to hit me below in the comments with any questions that you may have regarding digital lead acquisition and how it could be useful in your particular development program. I cannot tell you how much my coaching business is really accelerating. So if coaching is something that you are interested in, and you want to know more about, I'm pretty much full for coaching clients for the month of February. So if coaching is something that's on your mind and you want to get part of the action with me, please consider booking a complimentary session so that we can start to look at getting folks into the month of March into the queue. Also have one of my more popular webinars that are happening on February 20th, and it's called Taking Your Event Attendees, because as you know, we are heading into event season. So it's taking your event attendees and turning them into loyal donors. And actually that webinar was up for sale full price. Was $49.99. However, because you are all my super fans in this Facebook group, I'm letting you know a secret. It's actually going on sale to $39.99 this week. So you want to be sure to check that out. And let's see, I don't think I have anything else coming up. Just if you're interested in a coaching session, act now. Because if you were to see my calendar, and I don't think I can share my screen with you, but let me just do this. I'm going to share something that you're going to be like, holy moly, cowabunga. I can't believe this. So I just love this kind of stuff. I just do a lot of screen sharing in my coaching as well, right? So I do a lot of that. But I want to just show you something that I think you will go, holy cowabunga. If you do not believe me, then right, I just want to show you this. Let's see if I can find it. This right here is, and I'm going to show you this. This right here is, this is my Monday. So this is not this one, but coach, 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 coach. So if you don't believe that, this is my Tuesday. So it's time to get into the action, folks, and book your session. So have a great, great weekend and enjoy, right? And don't forget to hit me for that white paper, because you'll get it first before anyone else, even the folks who are going to the international conference. All right? I see people like commenting and other things. So, or liking. So who is that? I don't know, can't see. So hit me with some loving and liking if this video was beneficial to you. Take care.